The cycle of abuse involves 3 stages in a relationship that is characterized by abuse, and why it feels really confusing, conflicting, and really unfamiliar to the victim. It explains why victims stay, why victims go back. It explains why it's so challenging and why it's so difficult to leave or to even identify it as being abuse that they're experiencing. So generally the first stage is the honeymoon period, aptly named, because you've either met somebody new and you've gone on a few dates, you begin a relationship and everything's just great. This person is, unlike anybody you've met before. They're saying the right things, they're doing the right things. You are going with your gut that, things just feel okay. Then what happens next is you start walking on eggshells. There may be snide remarks, snide comments, maybe comments about you, your weight, your looks, the way you dress, who your friends are. It's called the tension building stage. So you're walking on eggshells, you're not really sure what mood they're in, you're not really sure what you've done wrong, you may be getting the silent treatment, you may be being ignored, there's lots of signs here that you're just not really sure what's going on. Then comes next is the explosion stage. So that's where things blow up. You may be physically assaulted, you may be verbally abused, you may be accused of something, there may be property damage, any number of things that sort of contribute to an explosion of an abusive incident. Something that's traumatic, something that's scary, something that causes you fear. And what happens next is you may consider leaving, you may have brought up that behavior, you may have spoken to your partner about that, and then they apologize and they say they're going to change and they're really sorry and they're going to go to the meetings or go to the appointments and they're going to finally seek the help that they know they need to get, and we're back in the honeymoon period. And you will hear victims of domestic violence say, I just thought I needed to, give them another chance. I wanted to keep our family together. It was just a mistake. I want to sort this out. And then what happens is the honeymoon stage sort of comes to an end. Something may happen. Something's triggered. Somebody, you say something that sort of triggers them. You may nag them or bring up something from the past. And that starts off that tension building stage all over again, where you're now again walking on eggshells. You're watching what you say. You're not really going too far from home. You're making sure that, dinner's done, the house is clean, the kids are quiet. You're trying to do all the things to keep things calm. You're trying to placate them, trying to placate their mood. You're people pleasing, essentially. And then as the tension building stage escalates, then comes the next explosion. And it just begins a cycle of then honeymoon stage, apologizing, going to change, going to be better, wanting different for you, for the relationship, for the kids, for the family. And then, that's that honeymoon stage again. And what you need to be careful of is how frequently you're rolling through those stages. So you will find that as the behavior escalates into very dangerous territory, that whole cycle may happen within a matter of weeks. So it's just, honeymoon period, or things are nice and calm. There's that tension building, the explosion, honeymoon. And you may have found in the beginning that they were good for a few months, maybe longer. But as they're, just being good for a few weeks and then the tension building starts again, that's an escalation. That's an escalation in frequency of the explosions happening. And you will probably find that each of those explosions are escalating in intensity. It may have been verbal, mental abuse, financial abuse, social abuse to begin with. As it escalates, it becomes physical. Property damage, that's an escalation as well. Damaging your vehicle, smashing up the house, throwing, your personal belongings that have sentimental or, other significant value to you. And you will find that the incidences increase in frequency, in intensity, in harm. And that is a huge red flag for this is not going to end well. So that's where it gets really confusing, because as victims, we want to believe so badly that they are going to change this time. And, you know, sometimes they do say all the right things and they do acknowledge that their behavior was unacceptable, that, you know, they do have a substance use issue, that they do need to go to their GP or a counselor to discuss mental health. There are a number of things. And as victims, I know that I wanted to be, I'm a nurturer, I'm a carer, I want people to do well. And so I wanted him to do well. I wanted him to get better for the sake of our relationship and for, as my children's father. So it's a really conflicting time when they're saying sorry and they're trying, or they're seeming to try, and then you feel like you have to try as well. But as the tension building comes in again and you're walking on eggshells and you're not knowing what mood they're in or what to say, or whether what you say is going to be taken the wrong way, when you're having to watch what you do and say and how you present yourself, that's no way to live. It's not a peaceful way to live. So if you can recognize that the cycle of abuse is occurring, honeymoon, tension building, explosion, honeymoon, tension building, explosion. If that's happened a couple of times and your partner hasn't made the effort to actually go and seek help and treatment, that cycle is only going to keep happening. It doesn't change. It doesn't get better without significant support and help in that. So if your partner cannot acknowledge that they have an issue, that their behavior is a concern, and then they do nothing about it, then you have some choices to make too. Because you don't deserve to live like that. Abuse is never your fault. And there are lots of things which make leaving or escaping challenging. But you do have choices to make in there, knowing that the cycle of abuse will just continue to escalate in frequency, in intensity, and domestic violence kills. People die. The cycle of abuse. Recognize it, understand it, put a support plan in place, a safety plan, get a safety plan in place, engage support services, and know that abuse is never your fault and you shouldn't have to live with it.